Alright, let's start. So this is Triple 4416 Simulation Lab. I am Asif Nawaz and I am currently working as a lecturer here in IIT. Now, before we go into details of this lab, let's talk a little bit about programming first. Now, I believe you are already familiar with C programming languages, C, in your second semester, and you also know the very basic terms of programming as well, I believe. Now, there are many other programming languages out there. For example, say Java. Okay, Java is one of Java. Java is one of the most popular languages out there, and it is actually widely used for app design purpose. Okay, for app design. Now, another programming language that is called PHP. PHP. Okay, it is used for website design. Okay, then we have JavaScript. Now JavaScript and Java, they are actually both are different, not the same, and JavaScript actually used a lot for web development purposes. Okay, web develop. Now next we have say R. Okay, R is actually widely used for statistical analysis. Okay, and you may commonly known as data science. Okay, R is widely used for in this branch, in this field, data science. Okay, now there are many other programming languages out there. For example, say Ruby. Okay, then Swift, then Golang. Golang is developed by Google. Then we have Python. Now Python in particular, it is actually now it is the most popular language now. It's actually Python, and there are some reasons behind it. Python actually offers framework for almost every task. Okay, for example, you can do data science work with Python, you can do web development task with Python, and so on. So Python is probably the most versatile programming language, and it is very easy to learn. It is easy to learn actually. Okay, now easy to learn. Then we have C++. Okay, C++, then C sharp. Okay, C sharp. For example, if you want to develop a game, I would suggest you should study C sharp. Then we have another one that is called Octave. Okay, or say MATLAB. Now these programming languages are actually open source, but MATLAB is not open source, but it is widely used for undergraduate works and research related works. MATLAB is very popular. The name MATLAB actually comes from matrix laboratory. Okay, matrix laboratory. So from the name you can actually you can imagine this is something to do with matrix. Okay, so I believe you are very much familiar with matrix now, and MATLAB actually works by matrix manipulation, so it is actually very easy to learn, and probably the most easiest programming language to learn is MATLAB. Now C was actually that you learned was I would say a bit low level language. Okay, compared to these things like MATLAB or Python, they are actually a bit high level programming language. So they are much more simpler, and you don't need to write in so details, and you will see later on. Now in this course we'll actually learn two programming languages in particular. One is this MATLAB and this Python. Okay, first we'll learn MATLAB, and then after mid probably we'll start with Python. Now programming language, learning a programming language is not a difficult task. It is actually easy. You just need to give a little bit of time, and since these are like application based, so if you want to, for example, website development, you should study PHP or learn PHP. Otherwise you don't actually have to learn. Okay, so let's go into this side. So we have two programming languages in particular. Sorry, here first we have MATLAB. Okay, and we have Python. So these two. Now in this lab, okay, we'll start with the very basics of this two programming languages. So our first one will be very basic understanding of the programming language, basic introduction to MATLAB and Python. Okay, then the second task will be a little bit of visualization. Okay, data visualization, how to actually plot. Okay, some things like that. Plotting, will introduce you to plotting. Now there are different libraries. For example, in Python, for example, like matplotlib or Pillow, those are actually used for plotting in Python. For MATLAB, it's actually a single software, so there are no other libraries. Everything is actually included in the within MATLAB. Okay. Now, in the next portion, we'll learn a little bit about simulation. Okay, simulation using simulation using GUI. That is, GUI actually stands for graphical user interface. Okay, it actually stands for graphical user interface. Okay. So using this, for example, when you are using a calculator in your laptop, say for example when you are using a calculator, the computation is done behind, but to make it actually visible to the users, that is actually what is called GUI, graphical user interface, and you will learn how to actually build those things. In Python, we use another tool that is called tkinter or Kivy. That's called tkinter, okay, or Kivy, and these are actually GUI for Python. You will be one of those things for this simulation purpose. And later on you will be learning interfacing. Okay, interfacing with Arduino or Raspberry Pi, something like that, using MATLAB. Now, and these are in very short, these are the things that you are going to learn in this lab. Now, before we actually go into those things, I would like to talk a little bit about programming and share my experience on programming in this university as a student and now as currently working as a lecturer. What I have seen here in IIT is that many of the students that graduating students after graduation, even after, I have seen most of the students have very poor programming ability, programming skill, I would say. One of the main reason is that they are pretty much afraid of to problem solving. Okay, the main reason behind is actually students actually solve very small amount of problems in their undergraduate life, and that's why they are pretty much afraid to solve program, that they don't have the courage to actually solve problems. And it is actually really unacceptable, because as an engineer or as an electrical graduate, you should not be afraid of programming. Okay, in that way. Now I will actually try to give you some idea how to actually develop your programming skill and so on. Now, from my experience, I think programming as like riding a bicycle. Okay, riding a bike or riding a bicycle, I believe everyone can actually learn how to ride a bicycle. Similarly, programming, everyone can learn how to learn programming. But as you know, there are lots of instructions. If you go for riding a bike or learn riding how to drive a car, okay, there are lots of instructions out there. But if you just go through the instructions, you will never actually learn how to actually drive a car and so on. You have to practice more and more. You have to practice with your car in the road, so that you can actually drive a car or learn how to ride a bike. Similarly, when it comes to programming, there will be lots and lots of instructions out there, but if you just go through the instructions, you will never be able to learn how to do programming. Okay, how to apply programming knowledge in real life problems. Okay, so to learn programming, the best way to learn programming is to actually solve problems. Okay, like solve problems solve problems. So that's actually the best approach, and I believe that is the only approach. If you want to learn programming, you need to solve lots of problems. And as you solve many problems, you will automatically learn all of these things and automatically learn all of these programming languages. Now, in this one in particular, to solve problems, the first thing that you need to solve problem is the faith. Okay, the confidence level is the most important. If you actually look at a problem and think this is very complex and it will not, I cannot do this, then it will not actually happen. The first step is actually your confidence. If you don't have confidence, you will never be able to do anything with it. Okay, so have little faith in yourself, because when you first look at a problem, it might appear a bit complicated, but if you keep practicing lots of problem, after 1 month you will see that problem will seem very easy. Similarly, when you start riding a bike, okay, at first it actually looks very complicated, you may fall down and so on. Similarly, when you actually start writing a problem, your program may not work. But if you actually keep continuing, after a few time, you will see, after a few years, after a few months, you will see you'll become a very good programmer. Okay, so the confidence is actually the first step, and the second thing is you have to give it some time. Okay, it is not like the other labs. Okay, in the other labs you may have given like 1 hour or 2 hours for a particular lab, but when it comes to this lab, you will have to actually give more time to it. Otherwise, you will not be able to get good at this programming. Okay, and the more you actually give time, the more you exercise, the better you are going to get. Okay, so in this lab, I will actually try to give you lots of problems. I will solve many problems myself so that you can actually get yourself familiar with this problem solving technique. And I will give you some exercises, and I will ask you to solve those exercises. And one other thing is that this lab is actually a 1 credit lab. Okay, sorry, this is 1 credit. 1 credit means this is actually a weekly lab. So far you have done all the labs, probably they are bi-weekly. That means you had 1 week's extra, but this is a weekly lab. That means every week you will have to actually submit the assignments. Okay, so just make sure that you actually work every day. If you give like 1 hour or a couple of hours every day, you will become a very good programmer if you keep practicing. Okay, and if you want to go for like competitive programming, that's one of the very interesting thing, I believe, and everyone should try a little bit. Competitive programming. Okay, now competitive programming, I believe every student should at least give it a try, not just to become a professional programmer, no, but if you actually try competitive programming, you will see that your abilities your ability will increase tenfold. Okay, very much. You will be able to solve many problems, and yeah, you will become very much very good at programming if you actually try competitive programming. And there are many websites, okay, to actually work on this competitive programming. I will introduce later on some of those things, but let me name some of these things for now. For example, one of the things I actually first suggest, that is HackerRank, and then you have LeetCode. This is very nice, and I actually also work in this thing, LeetCode. Then you have Codeforces or CodeChef. Okay, now all of this actually for Python. Okay, that's something you are going to learn. These are all for Python or C++. C++ and Python are actually mostly used for this, but you have not studied C++, I think. You can learn by yourself. You can use any of the programming languages except MATLAB. For MATLAB, there is one other in particular that is called Kodi, and it is the only one, because MATLAB is not a free software. Okay, only MathWorks can controls this. Sorry, it's named Kodi. So you can go to this website and you will see there are tons of problems, lots of problems out there. And if you actually start from the easy problem, you will see your programming skill will actually develop much quickly. Okay, and that confidence level, if you solve many problems, like a person who has solved 100 problems, his confidence level will be much higher than the one who has solved only 10 problems. Okay, and solving problems is nothing complicated, and we'll see later on in this course that you will get very good at solving problems, I believe. Okay, so that's it for now, and in the next video I will actually introduce you to different terminologies of MATLAB, and that's what we are going to start with. Okay, thank you.